What's happening, guys? Welcome to another eclectic edition of PWT Podcast. Yeah. I am your host, the infallible Phil Marks, and I am here with another epic episode of PWT Podcast number 71. Yeah. And I'm back from I went to a wedding for a weekend. We were at the beach, and it was more of a vacation than my last vacation. I had such a great time, and I feel just refreshed and rejuvenated. And, I knocked a bunch back, and it was in Minecraft, and it was a fun time. And I'll tell you guys a bit more about it, I guess, as we get into the pod. But first, I got to shout out my people. We got a lot of tribal chiefs, so I got to plug the channels, guys. Listen, we're at almost 1,100 subscribers at youtube.com/@prowrestletimes. That's the long form channel, of course, where the live show replays get uploaded. And that is where these get uploaded. And you know that because you're probably here listening to it. But if you're not and you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you may be listening to it just through the RSS feed, come check us out on YouTube. You know what I mean? There's a bit of a visual element, I'm sure you all know, to the show that's been added over the last 5-6 months. I'm not too sure. But yeah, come check us out there. And the big one is at Wrestle Clips. We're almost at 4K subscribers. But the big number and the big thing I got to promote is we are legitimately about to surpass 1 million channel views. And we're only like a year and a half into this. I don't even think it's maybe like a year and a half into this thing. So shout out the PWT universe. Speaking of which, the tribal chiefs, Tyranitar J&D, Lincoln Hawk, Tom Reed, Donnie Soares, You Ain't Hype, Brody Campbell, Brad Becker, Jay Chase, Liam McBlain, Andre Adams, The Big KC, James Gonzalez, Savage Wrestling Podcast, LK, George Captor, Bocce Ball Pro, Scully Vibes, Gilgamesh, Jamie Earhart, Cruz Madrid, Derek Hance, I acknowledge you.
Acknowledge me.
You guys like that? I got it on the soundboard finally. Oh yeah, we came back rejuvenated, fresh, focused, in rare form, stellar. I watched all the wrestlings while I was away. I went to at Pro Wrestle Clips on YouTube. Consider checking out the Patreon. I haven't uploaded nothing to it yet. That's new, but it is coming, I assure you guys. And I've had a lot of time off, soaked up the sun, and a lot of time. I mean, it's like a weekend, and we're coming back hot. Live shows Wednesdays and Saturdays or whenever there's a PLE. Speaking of PLE, that's sort of what TNA is referring to their PLEs as of late, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. Of course, Killer Kelly's going to join me. TNA Knockout, or is she? Some people, were expecting her to pop up at Slammiversary, and she did not, and that's okay. There was also a lot of flight trouble action that we're going to talk about in a bit during the review, because that's a big thing. A lot of people don't realize they had a lot of surprises planned for that show. Surprises like, oh yeah, this is great. Surprises. Not to shit on TNA or anything, but that's what, was in the books, let's say. But there were flights that got messed up because there was like a big tech glitch or whatever happened in America there, where weird stuff's going down in America, folks. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm a Canadian, so I don't know. But so Killer Kelly's going to join me. Brilliant interview. One of the most fun discussions I've ever had on this show. Absolutely. And I can't wait for that. And we're going to talk about some TNA NXT crossover and where she's at. And she actually fills us in on, where she's been at, etc. But we're going to review TNA. But first, we got to dive into Phil Marks' bookmarks, and we got to check out, let's see here. Let's present this, and we're going to go to Phil Marks' bookmarks, and we're going to talk about some WWE releases or internal roster rumors and innuendo. We don't even really know. The dirt sheets could just be talking mad trash, which Killer Kelly's going to get into later. She talks about how later on in the show, she talks about how the dirt sheets, made her think she lost her job, or, may have almost cost her job even, if it was pushed to that extremity with the nonsense they perpetrate and they peddle out there, folks. And that's what PWT's here to do, and damn, it feels good to be back. So we're here to cover all that and just sort of break it down. So Bobby Lashley apparently has been removed from WWE's internal roster. So has MVP and Tamina. Now, this is all via at hashtag PWN, at WrestleOps, however you want to break it down. But there's obviously maybe some truth to this. Like MVP's been tweeting out, very cryptic, vague things. Tamina. So we cover all of these folk on this show all the time, right? Like we're big. We just covered recently, MVP sort of has a beef with Triple H and compared his stuff to the Bloodline and, was sort of going at taking shots at Triple H. You know what I mean? And I said, yo, there might be heat on with them from back in when they were like on the wrestling together too, like the politicking aspect of Triple H back when, let's say, CM Punk had heat with him, or other people have had heat with Triple H and the Clique just in general, right? And so MVP could have some like unspoken, stuff. And we have tweets, we have him liking and responding to comments, that I didn't even look at, live reacting with you guys, okay? Because I love you, and that's the best way, the most fun way to do it for me. So I just saw a post with all of his tweets or his like Instagram comments and whatnot. And he's sort of maybe does have a beef with Triple H that's been underlying. We covered it a little bit on the show previously. Tamina, we talk about her all the time. I'm like, yo, we need her and Nia Jax and Naomi in the Bloodline female faction. A lot of people are like, don't do that. That's, that's too much.
You fucking mark!
Phil, calm down. But we also have covered how she's like semi-retired, right? Like they could call her anytime they want. She's probably got an open door policy at the PC and anything WWE, but she's sort of been done, and she's had some mileage on her. I mean, over the years, right? She came at that weird era too, where it was sort of like divas transitioning into real women's wrestlers, So yeah, I love Tamina. But then Bobby Lashley, this is the big one where everyone's like, if he's been removed from the roster, who knows what that means, right? Is there heat there? Apparently he is on the internal roster. This has been corrected, so I'm going to give these guys a liar, because apparently, according to some people, Lashley's just still on the injured roster, like the injured list, and internally. And when we're talking internally, guys, this is all just Mark Gaga nonsense, BS. It's just speculation. We don't actually know. It's just anyone could say, I could go, yeah, I heard from the internal roster. But there is like rumblings on X, right, of people saying, no, he's on the injured list. They offered him a new contract. He declined it, but he didn't hard decline WWE. But he's just like not expected to re-sign. These are the rumors and innuendo, right? We don't fully know. And so these three, I mean, goddamn. MVP, Lashley, and of course, you have Shelton Benjamin, who's a free agent. And then Cedric Alexander. I believe they're finally starting to do something with him and Ashanti the Adonis, like pushing forward that tag team in NXT, which will be great because Triple H, we'll talk about Alfred Konua talked about it on the last show. Like leaning into the black culture is a very, very wise thing to do, especially in this wrestling space right now. Like if nothing, NXT's proven that, and so using Ashanti the Adonis and Cedric Alexander, and I believe on the last NXT he was hitting on like Jakara Jackson. That dynamic, what's the joke Alfred Konua makes? Love in NXT or African NXT or whatever, right? So listen to that last podcast. Always got to plug my own shit and put it over, because if I don't, who's gonna, right? Because he breaks it down way better than I can. But I see big things for that tag team. Like they need something. That Nathan Frazier Axiom stuff in NXT ain't working. I would way rather see Ashanti and Cedric. I don't know if you're not familiar with them, get familiar. Just tremendous workers. When it comes to this faction, though, we have accusations like Hurt Business. Apparently, Dave Meltzer is going to throw himself out there and say, oh, they want to reform in AEW. He's already been saying that. So we're going to talk about that. And also, there's other people melting down who are like, Triple H is racist. So it's crazy, just touchy shit. But your boy Phil's going to talk about it. I'm going to do my best. We're gonna have fun with the damn thing. We're gonna dive into it. So MVP, he's got his tweets here. MVP might have been right about Triple H. Here's a response. So let's just read stuff. King Craig, these are all on Instagram. MVP, the 305 MVP, shout him out. I'm a huge fan of his since I was little, so if he has heat with Triple H, that could stem from political business when they were wrestling together, as I mentioned previously, that could totally be the case. And I could totally see that. What would have been the era what would have been that timeline, 09, 08, in there, right? I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, where MVP was prominent on the roster, and I'm sure Triple H was starting to move his way into the office, and it was an era when DX were kind of doing their thing, and there could be heat there. We really don't fully know. But here is MVP's. I'm going to read them to you. So this guy says, can't believe Vince fucked this up. I assume it was him. MVP responds, Triple H had the power to fix it. And this is in response to Bloodline versus Hurt Business that never happened. Now, I agree. That shit should have happened. I think they should have resurrected Hurt Business and just brought the Street Profits into it. Because why not, bring BFAB into it, I guess, if she's not going to be with Hit Row or whatever. But ultimately, and this is true. This isn't a lie, dude. Triple H had the power to fix all of this. He had the power to make this happen. But am I somebody sitting here groveling? No, because if the bloodline didn't happen the way it's happened, then we wouldn't be where we're at with the bloodline. Do you all understand what I'm saying? So I'm okay with that it didn't happen, but yeah, people go, it's a fumble, but is it though, dude? We can't just sit here and call it a fumble, right? It's just more of something that I would say is a missed opportunity. It could have made a lot of money, but how do you stretch out the bloodline shit another year? Who knows? I don't know. I can't write it as good as they're writing it, but I'm sure we could all fantasy Mark book ways, but it's just something that didn't happen, so we can't be upset about that. But MVP gets asked, can we get the Hurt Business back? Triple H said no, so he's just blatantly saying, Triple H is saying nah. Should have kept y'all together. Damn you, Vince. Triple H had the power to fix it. He chose not to. Go figure. Damn. The Triple H era is emasculating black men. I'm really hating it. And then MVP says, you see it. Damn. So, hey, man, I'm not going to be like, you're wrong about that. I don't see it. I don't see it whatsoever. Vince, I feel like Vince, how do we even compare? And we don't know, I guess MVP is revealing, no, there was a shift in power when it still could have happened. But maybe he just saw it differently. We don't fucking know. But MVP, dude, you have to take it from, I always say, from the horse's mouth. He was there and he's willing to put his name on this shit and put it out there. I'm not going to sit here and say Triple H is racist. A lot of people are doing that. I don't throw that shit around lightly. But damn, MVP's agreeing with something like emasculating black men, which is damn, I can see why he would have been on the released list. Just for that alone, that's bad publicity and shit. You know what I mean? So this guy says, as much as I would love to see it, the Hurt Business back on TV, the only way I'd want it back is if Shelton Benjamin is back in the fold. Ain't the Hurt Business without him. Once he's back, let's run it back. That guy said back about 15 times. MVP says that's the only way. The current regime doesn't want it either. I agree. Hurt Business is way Lashley. I've said it on the show a billion times. He started floundering when they just sort of stuck him with the Street. I'm not feeling that faction really. I'm not whatsoever. It just feels like thrown together pieces of, MVP should be the manager in the suit, managing Lashley the Killer and the young tag team, and BFAB the young woman on the rise, and she can valet as well. I'm all down with that, but MVP should almost be in that role. And why not have Cedric? Why not have Ashanti? Why not have the Street? Merge them. merge all those groups into one if that's what they were trying to do, and then have it be like the Uber NWO Hurt Business. A lot of people might be like, Phil, you're a mark. Phil S marks to you, but like I am a New Japan mark, and those factions like work, dude. For like in MMA, there's camps where there's like might be 5, 6, 7 dudes, different weight classes, who come from a camp, and like they don't have to cross paths. And when they do, Daniel Cormier and Cain Velasquez, which is a perfect example, they just switch divisions or whatever. So that idea does work. It is more, I would say, sports based too. Like you have teams in sports, you have people. It works in NXT. Everyone's got a group and a faction in NXT. A couple pods ago, we were talking about, is it too many factions? I don't know. I kind of like it. Attitude Era, everyone was sort of grouped off. I'm not saying group everyone off, but, in a WCW, people were grouped off and it was hot. And then Goldberg came in and there was a Sting and they got white hot or a DDP because they didn't really align with a group. They were like, no, I'm going to do my own thing. And that made them bigger, so it can be done, and I like it. So, and then there's people who will say, "Oh, Phil, just try to stick all the black dudes together." But we've covered that on the show too. Like, Alfred said it better than I can again to allude to the last pod. But it's, what sets you rep. It doesn't matter. Everything's tribalistic. So, you know what I mean? It's just going to work that way naturally. And that's why it works, dude, because it feels natural. Like the Hurt Business is a natural faction. The Bloodline is a natural faction. The LWO feels natural. Well, the LWO feels a little more thrown together. I won't lie about that. But Legado as well, which sort of spurned off. I guess that's like LWO too. Yeah, the wolf pack of is Legado. You could look at it that way. But either way, man, this is just, I could see why Triple H would be like, well, I don't want someone talking about me this way who I work with. I could see that. And it seems like MVP is a little more like, nah, dude, Vince actually had my back in this regard. The IWC brains are tripwiring. Everyone's got different opinions and stances on all of this. And I don't know, but let's move along here. What noise do we have to make for Hurt Business to happen again? None. It's over. The power that be made that clear. You got to talk to Hunter, Nick, and William and get the band back together. We did. He said, no, somebody like you doesn't get to be a world champion. It's your job is to make people like me laugh. Triple H, you meant that. SMH. And then he said 100. So that's a quote from the feud with Booker T, where he's like, people like you don't get to be champion. And all you guys remember that? Damn. And he's agreeing, dude. So, Triple H can say, dude, I was playing a character and things were edgier and crazier back then. And if someone were to say, well, that's not good enough, like that doesn't mean whatever, I'd feel totally justified in that. I'm indigenous myself, so I won't ever say that I have an experience, perhaps racial or maybe underlying, maybe you feel that type of way. I'll never discredit someone's perspective like that, as much as people will get mad and go, oh, race baited, even though I do not do that. But it's a valid conversation to be had, dude. It really is. It's not like he's making this up. Is MVP making this up? Is a fucking grown-ass man, lived a insane life. You know what I mean? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt is probably the most humble of human being, who just actually probably feels a way and is valid in that. And I would love to hear his perspective fleshed out, not in like responses to comments. I'd love to hear him like talk about this in depth and really explain, or a little shoot interview, brother. Get Sean Oliver on the phone. And just like spill the beans. But obviously he doesn't want to like burn a bridge, but obviously maybe he's like, fuck it. And then so yeah, like and here's the thing, MVP I'm sure could just walk in AEW, get a job. We all know that, he absolutely could do that anytime. Most people could. If you've been in WWE, you can walk in AEW and get a job. Now, I'm not saying that's why he's doing that, but like wrestling's hot again. So there's a more incentive for people to go, yeah, I'm not going to tolerate this or that. Even though everything seems peachy keen on the surface of WWE, there are tons of valid criticisms about WWE. And same thing with TNA, which we're going to get into about Slammiversary. Nobody puts TNA over more than I do. But, I do have some criticisms of Slammiversary we're going to get into in a bit. But speaking of TNA, I tweeted out, Hurt Business in TNA greater than Hurt Business in AEW. irrefutably. Now, MVP has some past history in TNA. Of course, Bobby Lashley has a ton of history in TNA. Shelton Benjamin, I think, would fit in TNA better than an AEW. And I think they'd welcome him and treat him better. Cedric Alexander, does he ask for his release or does he keep doing what he's doing? Who knows? And yeah, and then we have haters saying shit like, you know, there's nothing MVP can bring to the table. Like, that's utterly asinine. I do not agree with that. And that is fucking stupid. And for that, it gets a dummy.
Dummy, yeah.
But yeah, so people are just upset, melting down. Now they're hating on MVP. Come on, WWE drones, do fucking better, man. Do better than that. Don't start hating on MVP because he's going to say what he feels, man, you know? And feels and reels are two different things, but we don't know the reels. This is a hearsay, he say, she say type situation. Like, we don't know. Dave Meltzer's already out there spinning the narrative, and this Dave Meltzer's dumb moment of the week. Spinning the narrative that Bobby Lashley and MVP are reportedly on their way out of WWE and looking to reunite with Benjamin to reform the Hurt Business in AEW. So who told him this? You know what I'm saying? Who told Dave this? That's what I don't understand. And so Dave goes, I know that there is talk of especially trying to get into AEW. It's like one of those things where technically nobody can talk to them because I don't believe either's contract has expired. So then how do you know that they're trying to go to AEW to reunite the Hurt Business, Dave, if no one can talk to them because their contracts aren't?
Liar! Tell us what you know, you goddamn liar!
I don't believe either's contract has expired, but their contracts are going to expire, and they are at this point, as things stand right now. WWE is under the assumption that they are gone and that they are going to try to revamp the Hurt Business. Bro, okay, maybe they are, but how the fuck do you know if no one can talk to them? The sentence before, because their contracts aren't up, Dave. And then you're just saying they're going to be up and WWE think they're going to go do the Hurt Bit, or are you just saying that shit? I don't know. Maybe they're talking to him. Who fucking knows? Maybe that is the word around town. It would make sense to do it. Why not? But Tony wouldn't book that shit properly. He'd just give them the trios titles and then they'd be on fucking Collision, doing dick. So do it. But I mean, hey, the money he'd dish out for these three, astronomical, and I would not blame them for going and taking that. Speaking of working or not, Dave's brain is might or might not be here, but he goes, I don't think it's a done deal or anything like that, but it's something that is alive. But as of right now, Bobby Lashley and MVP are both going to be gone from WWE when their contracts expires, which is relatively soon. And what if they're not, though, Dave? What if they end up re-signing, dog? Or what if they just leave and go to TNA for like 7-8 months and do the Hurt Business there, like Naomi did when she went there and then came back? That could absolutely happen as well. Or maybe MVP and Lashley and Shelton Benjamin are hearing this and going, Phil, shut the fuck up, you idiot. This is right. And you're completely wrong and off about this. And yeah, we're going to fucking AEW and we're reviving the Hurt Business. We're going to shove it down everyone's throats. And if that's the case, I applaud that. And I want that because that's what will make wrestling great is, people out there. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, WWE's where it's at. And it is. But I mean, dude, if we saw the Monday Night Wars again, if we saw AEW bounce back somehow in the Hurt Business, we're a big part of that. And there was a debate who's better, the Bloodline or the Hurt Business, and the ratings are close. That'd be fucking awesome. DXNWO, But I don't know. I try and find the pot of gold at the end of the end of the rainbows, I guess. Is that a good one? I don't know if that's a good one transition, but while on this topic, some people get very negative. At WWF Counselor, he's very much on the Triple H is just a blatant racist. And I just screen grabbed this, and I wasn't doing this I'd tag Pro Wrestling Counselor. We've disagreed on air. We've disagreed on X. It's not, I just screen grabbed it to get the whole thing, and I knew he'd see it, so I was not like the response. I responded right underneath here. I screen grabbed this too. He's not like a bad dude whatsoever, and you know, shout you out. He just has a different perspective than I do, but I just had to give my perspective, and I screen grabbed it to get the whole, so I didn't just quote tweet him and say like his aspect of it. Maybe I'm completely in the wrong, but I don't fully agree with Gareth just being like, you're stupid, common sense. It's like, well, are you calling MVP stupid because he feels the type of way, and he would know better than any of us, and he put his name on that shit. And he would know better than any of us, dude. He's worked directly with the guy as a talent and as like his boss, you know. So I'm not gonna call it MVP. So I don't mean to be a fence sitter, but I'm not siding with you guys. Just the discussion. It's like, come on. I don't know. To call MVP stupid, if that's what Gareth, I feel like that's what Gareth was sort of doing, leaning into that. And then Counselor to just say this is where we completely disagree. And then I was just a little disheartened, like, damn. We're really having this conversation. And then dude quote tweeted me and said, no, it isn't. If you can post a pod segment about what Tony does with Alfred Konuwa, then you can deep down on what Hunter is doing, which is just as bad. I just disagree with you, buddy. You know what I mean? I disagree. Like, yeah, no. What me and Alfred talked about was like leaning into black culture and how it works in wrestling. And is Triple H not doing that? Like, what about Jade and Bianca and Naomi? Like, they put them together as like the big three or the power three, you know, the three, however they were alluding to themselves there. And that's still a big thing actually in his picture right here in Pro Wrestling Counselor's profile picture. And then I had people responding to me going like, Counselor's just doing shit for clicks. I don't know about all that, guys. I'm not going to like trash Counselor, but we disagreed on this. He's welcome to come on here too and like fucking chat me up. Oh, come on now, Counselor. Why don't you just chat me? We can be friends. A healthy hurt business is healthy for everybody in the wrestling business. Counselor, oh, come on now, Counselor. That's not very fair, Eric. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel it's a conversation for another day, you know. But I just don't like throwing around like racist and stuff so blatantly. If MVP wants to come here and be like, Phil, you're dumb as fuck, and this is actually right, and Triple H is actually this, then assist my foot in my mouth, because I'll own it. But I will also, you know, I think Triple H has where I just don't know. I mean, you could point to the Nation of Domination stuff and all of that, but then you have to make the argument like, well, isn't that Vince's call too? And MVP sort of defending Vince. So I feel like it's more personable and nuanced, and it's not a blanket. This guy's are just a full-blown KKK member. I think there could be personal stuff there brewing with MVP and Triple H as well, from back when Triple H and Shawn Michaels were probably politicking and that sort of thing as a talent. You know what I mean? So again, guys, touchy stuff. Hopefully I did a good job of breaking it down the best I could. I'm not calling Dave completely wrong on this, but I just needed a reason to play a flute, you know what I mean? But I just think he is lying about, oh, no one can talk to them because their contracts aren't up, but here's what's going to happen when their contracts are up. That's like, so who's stooging then? And if you're not willing to say, then just
shut up, bitch.
So yeah. But let's move along here. Let's move along to TNA Slammiversary results. And of course, I got Killer Kelly joining me on the show in just a little bit. A fantastic interview, and she's going to dive into the sheets a little bit too and talk a bit more about the positives, you know, the TNA NXT crossover, which we saw some of, plenty of, on this TNA Slammiversary event. And they were in the Verdun Auditorium in Montreal, Quebec. And this is by Jeremy Willen of WrestleView.com, and shout them out. I just typed it in Google and it was the first one that popped up. Yeah, I'm going to try and switch it up from Bleacher all the time. We're going to switch it up, I think, moving forward, and just get a vibe of like everyone. Like, what's everyone doing? You know, let's see how these are laid out. We'll critique these breakdowns we'll critique these critiques. Chickens in the chat. So anyways, yeah, it was a sold out show. 4,000, over 4,000, the biggest TNA attendance in I think like 10 years. So a round of applause for that. And dude, the countdown to Slammiversary goes down. Now, I had some critiques, man. I gotta be honest. Just as an overall, well, I'll give the overall after. Let me break down these matches. But first off, the impression from the visual aesthetic, it wasn't working for me, man. People are saying the black ropes. No, it's not that for me. It's the crowd was dark as shit. They were not mic'd properly. Now, I know I'm going harsh, but I'm going to put a lot of stuff over because I fucking really enjoyed this show. I really, really, really did. But I'm going to say, I'm going to critique it, man. We're going to do it fair. The aesthetic was like, okay, the typical, it looked like typical TNA mat and apron, which is fine. That's like real nitpicky. The black ropes, I don't mind at all. I like that actually, instead of like purple or whatever. And I do enjoy when they do purple and stuff that people aren't doing. But that was very just, okay, this is our big show, black ropes. I'm okay with that. The crowd was so dark. They were not mic'd up properly for how loud that I heard. People told me who were there how loud it actually was in that building. It was not mic'd well. The card flew by. I thought the matches were awesome and fun. TNA is like a great wrestling show. I like how they had like the hardcore elements, you know, all the different elements, but what they do is they blend it for like American Canadian style pro wrestling, right? So some people couldn't make it out on planes, dude. There was like a glitch with the airlines and stuff. So I think they had other huge surprises as far as like potential debuts, or I don't want to say huge, but just possible like WWE crossover stuff that was supposed to go down that actually it wasn't able to because of like flights and stuff like that glitch and people's flights getting canceled and people's money not working and stuff like that. So my other criticism of the show, and then we're going to put stuff over because I'm telling you, I did enjoy 90% of this, you know. But my one criticism is it was very much, okay, we're in Canada, everyone, it's just hometown pop. You know, the through line of this is you'll notice all the people, like they just gave the crowd everyone except for like one or maybe two matches, everyone who should have won, or there was no like swerve element or like they just wanted to give the fans, they wanted them to explode the whole night. You could tell, and it's like, nah, you didn't have to do that the whole way through. You know, there's a good thing in garnering heat in some of these situations, you know, especially like the ebbs and flows of a show that's pretty long. I criticize AEW for, damn, you put a lot, like when there's 15 matches on the card, you know, TNA put like 12 on that shit. Oh, too much, you know. They had a pre-show just loaded with matches, too much, you know, because their TV shows weekly aren't like that. So when the pay-per-views are like that, it's like, okay. And that's sort of what it's like with AEW. But AEW's weekly show is just that the whole time. It's just like overly long matches, and then the pay-per-views overly long matches. So none of these matches were overly long, even though it was jam-packed full. And that's why I'm not going to go as hard on that. But it could have did with a few less. But the main pay-per-view flew by. Take the pre-show off this bitch, and this main card like flew by. It was so fun. I went back and watched certain things, certain spots and stuff. But Eric Young defeats Hammerstone with like a roll up. They kept Hammerstone strong. But again, what the fuck are you beating Hammerstone for? I want to see him beat Young in a squash match, dude, in this card. And everyone go, holy shit, he just squashed Young in Canada. That's what I want to see. So I was like, okay, to start the show. This is in the pre-show. They have a four-way. Tasha Steelz, who they see a lot in. Fabi Apache, Giselle Shaw, and Zaya Brookside. They all went at it. Decent match. I wasn't super into it. It was a good match, but it was like a little fucking, it was a pre-show match. You know what I'm saying? But these girls, Tasha Steelz, they see a lot in her. You know, she's growing on me. Good stuff. Then we had Kushida versus Swan in a submission match, and he hit him with the Avalanche hoverboard lock, Kimura lock, to finish the match, as you see here. These two guys are awesome, man. Rich Homie Swan is amazing, and Kushida's amazing. Was this either of their best matches? No. Was it horrible? No. TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championship match, Masha Slamovich, Alicia Edwards. We'll talk about Militia with Killer Kelly in a bit. We talk about Masha Slamovich, and if Killer Kelly's sort of eyeing up that those tag belts, and she's keeping an eye on what Militia's doing. You know, I told her Militia's no MK Ultra, but Yeah, Kelly will tell us in a bit when she's here with us. But Alicia Edwards and Masha Slamovich, they retained over Spitfire, and it was what it was. Now, leading into this main card, I got into a little tiffy over the Ant Evans interview with some other, Chris Connors actually, they were on the same episode, and there was a little tiffy on Twitter about how, this guy's burying the Anthem execs because blah, blah, blah. And this guy's tight with Scott D'Amore, so there's no answer on why they fired Scott D'Amore. And I'm like, well, Ant Evans gave the answer. And he's like, well, it's his anecdotal, da-da-da. Whatever, man. All that shit aside, it was brought to my attention. Well, look, since Scott D'Amore's been gone, there's been less spooky, hokey shit. But they wanted Santino Marella to be the main authority figure. But I'm like, but that is hokey shit, So, but there are there are a couple. Now I'm into the Rosemary spooky whatever stuff, and this could all be insider nonsense. But someone said that, someone's like, oh, my insider said that, the people at Anthem said that Scott D'Amore's leaking bad information about them. And then it's like, but that's what a fucking rich dude would say if they're trying to leak good information about themselves. They would just refute the shit. So it's all hearsay again. Listen to Ant Evans. He was there. That he firsthand was there. So he'll put his name on that shit. Someone going, oh, my sources. It's like, well, who was it? An exec in Anthem? Even just say that, because if it was, we'll fucking narrow it down. You know what I mean? But yeah, so you guys can determine what you want from that. But yeah, I mean, the spooky stuff, if you will, is sort of not in TNA anymore, and they're going more that Anthem sports based, Endeavor sports based WWE sort of route. And the current execs really want all the credit for the TNA, NXT, WWE crossover stuff. And, Ant Evans will tell you, well, Scott D'Amore put that in motion. And Jordan Grace went there when it was Scott D'Amore in charge. So that's hard to argue that. Didn't Mickie James go there too in the Rumble in WWE as the Knockouts champ when D'Amore was in charge? So, it's hard to argue that as well. It seems like he was kind of doing that too. So I don't know, man. It's stirring a lot of shit up, but whatever. I'm going to do my best to cover it all here on PWT. Yeah. Feels good to be back, guys. Anyways, though, we do the main card, right? Highest number of fans in attendance in over a decade. We get the Canadian national anthem. It's awesome. It was a French and English hybrid. And then Hannah Fan and Matthew Rayholt. Matthew Rayholt also starring in Arachnid, the short film that Killer Kelly is a star in, horror film that is currently being worked on. We're going to talk about it in a bit. But anyways, Broken Matt Hardy is out first. And he was using some broken music. But for the Hardy Boys, they're using that publicly licensed Hardy Boy music. Anyone can use it for anything. Jeff Hardy, they said, oh, he's not cleared because of injury. But that's because I don't think he can get across the border because of his DUIs. And they don't have a team like WWE wasn't there to help him with that one. They had Jacob Fatu's back, and they had the Usos back. But TNA are like, hey, can you help us get Jeff? And they're like, dude ran out in the crowd, Doug. Speaking of Matt and Jeff, the rumors are they public about it. They want to make a run at the NXT tag titles. Kind of funny. They listen to PWT confirmed because, listen, I've been saying that forever. Have them have a go at the NXT tag titles. Have them have a run. Put over a team in a fucking wacky ladder match in NXT, and then have them coach and just do jobs to everyone. You know what I mean? Just give them that for their resume, and yeah, I could totally see that happening. But either way, JDC, which is Dango, Dirty Dango, Johnny Curtis, John Dango Curtis, JDC, he calls himself now. And his whole thing is no gimmicks and fuck wrestling. I'm a fighter and stuff. So I like it. I like what's going on. They have a solid veteran match. Doesn't go too long. Broken Matt Hardy gets the win. I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? It wasn't, again, the greatest match of all time, but to kick off the pay-per-view, it's two faces, two names. Matt Hardy's a guy that, the crowd popped big for him. So yeah. And Hardy hits JDC with 3 twists of fates. We get a backstage segment with the system. So for those of you unfamiliar, Moose, Eddie Edwards, Militia, Masha's a hired hit woman who's sort of brought into the system. And yeah, that faction, Brian Myers, they're like the system that run wrestling, whatever. So the French Canadian commentary team are introduced. They get huge pops, dude. The crowd goes crazy for them. ABC come out to new music. Thank God. We listen, the Bullet Club thing. I'm not a hater. I'm Bullet Club for life, but I think that shit's ran its course, man. I want to see Ace and Bay in NXT, and now that's possible. I want to see that. I think they've done all you can do in TNA. Maybe not, because they win this match. If I'm HBK, I'm looking at Joe Hendry. I'm looking at guys like ABC, and I'm going, hey, let's get these guys in our tag division. I think they could be big stars in the tag division, in WWE, especially in that NXT system. And yeah, to me, it's like, what is there more they can do in TNA? I feel like they've done everything, but nah. They actually win this match and they get the tag team titles. And it's the system, sort of the story being told in TNA throughout the night is like they sort of fall apart. So no spoilers, but it is what it is. And this was a really good tag team match. I'm not a big fan of Edwards and Myers as a team. I'm not a big fan of the whole system in general, to be honest. They're doing their thing, but it's like, okay, finally they're kind of toppled and let's move along. ABC, man, they win the titles again. They're going to go on their third tag title reign. And I just don't know what, maybe them versus like Axiom and Nathan Frazier. So I know I'm fantasy mark booking. Here, I'll hit the goddamn X-Files. Oh, the Black Alligator. I know I'm fantasy mark booking. But hey, we're going to see that happen at some point soon. It has to. But either way, well, even though guys like Nick Nemeth are saying, hey, I don't see myself being a part of that crossover whatsoever, which I would love to see, like champions fight champions and stuff, but I don't think that'll happen. So if I'm eyeing up someone, it's Ace and Bay, and maybe that's why they put the tag straps on them, because they're like, hey, we don't want you motherfuckers going to NXT. Because I want to see that, no doubt. Anyways, though. Match was what it was, new champs, and yeah, solid match. We go backstage with Gia Miller talking to Mike Bailey about his X Division Championship match tonight in his hometown, and he starts spitting in French, and I liked it. I popped. It was awesome. Jake Something comes out. He takes on Mike Santana. Now, Jake Something, he's a guy who gets pops for like his powerhouse move style. He's got the look. Again, a guy, if I'm Shawn Michaels, I'm Triple H, I'm trying to get Jake Something over on NXT, And he competes a lot in the X Division, but they sort of made him heel out of nowhere, which is what it is. And then he feuds with Santana, who's being presented as a babyface, and he's doing great stuff in TNA, really. And since he's been on his own, and he's bulked up and he's putting on great matches. This was a great match, but Jake fucking, I don't know. He doesn't fit like even though he's a big burly dude, he's not like a heel to me. He's like the big dude you kind of root for because he can do cool shit, and his I don't know. They put him over so good, but this match he lost it. And I just couldn't believe it. I went, wow, Hammerstone and Something lose? Like that's the big match. Those are my two future world champs right there that I'm just putting on monster runs who eventually like run into each other and someone's always got to go type thing or so. I don't know. That's me, but I don't know. The match was what it was. And again, Santana's doing great work. So I'm not hating on it, but goddamn. Yeah, they do a backstage thing, hyping up everything, and then we have a 6-man tag match. The Rascals. Now, I said NXT is going to get trios tag titles. I believe that. I think Shawn Michaels wants to do everything Tony Khan thinks he's doing and do it better. Ever since that bald assholes comment, I truly, truly believe that, and I think we're going to get a trios titles somewhere down the line. But maybe I'm wrong. But we get the Rascals, and shout out Myron Reed, who was on the show. If you guys haven't, I plugged it a billion times. Go and check out the interview I did with Myron Reed, who is one of the Rascals. He grew up in the house with the Rascal. He'll tell you all about it in the interview I did. And he's out there doing his own thing. He just wrestled Reggie, a Scripps from WWE. They just had a fantastic match. He just wrestled he wrestled everybody, bro. He wrestled Speedball not long ago, Leo, everybody. So, and he's doing his damn thing, representing the Rascals like out there. And then you have, Wentz and Miguel in TNA, and then you have Wes Lee in the NXT. So they're all over, man. Shout out the Rascals. But anyways, though, this match was again really good. It's what you'd think. And then they fought the No Core to Catch crew. So Charlie Dempsey, that's William Regal's kid, Tavion Heights, and Miles Bourne. I'm not the biggest fan of the No Core to Catch crew, to be honest, other than like Dempsey. You know, I would love to just see like Dempsey managed by his dad, or just maybe on his own doing his own thing, or like a coach type character in his corner, whatever. I told you guys this. We're gonna see the one name we're gonna see go everywhere is Dempsey. Okay, he's going everywhere he can. I'm telling you, Regal would have it no other way. This match was really good, and the Rascals, of course, get the win, as it should be. They're white hot. They're wearing Buzz Lightyear gear. They're all together again, these three. And I just say more Rascals, man. Just more of it. Just give me more. Keep going. You know, NXT, TNA, they're killing it, honestly. And I've been critical of them in the past. Miguel's one of those guys where I'm like, he just doesn't do it for me. I don't know what it is about him. Just them as a trios. You know, when I was criticized, he was like an X Division going solo. And I wasn't hating. I was just like, it's something about him where I'm like, I don't know. It's not like a heat. It's with me where it's like, oh, I don't like him. I want him to lose. It's like, it just doesn't do it for me. I don't know what it is. But when they're this group, I fucking love it, you know? So we go to a video package hyping up PCO versus AJ Francis, which was phenomenal. Okay. So AJ Francis, and shout out, I think West Side Gun did the theme song Chocolate Face, which was phenomenal. Featuring DJ Khaled, you know, which was phenomenal that they had like a high profile song like that for the pay-per-view. I was like, yes, dude, let's go TNA, you know? And then AJ and Rich Swann make their way out. They grab mics, fans boo, and it's the digital media and the International Heavyweight Championship, and it was in a street fight. Now, apparently, this International Heavyweight Championship belt had like eluded PCO like his whole career. Like, I guess this is like an older lineage title that like he wrestled like for, but he never actually obtained in his career. So something like that. And so you have Francis, who's the digital media champion, and he has this international belt. So he puts both belts on the line against PCO. And dude, this match was peak carnage fucking TNA, dude. You got PCO. So PCO is like the Undertaker of TNA. I've said that a million times on this podcast. People are talking shit to AJ Francis because there's a spot here where he hits PCO with a fucking tombstone, and then he does like the Undertaker cover thing, right? And like Francis is friends with Undertaker, A, but B, like, guys, PCO is the TNA Undertaker. Like, that's the thing with that gimmick. He got over the fact that he's like a Frankenstein. Now, he's not like scary the way Undertaker is, but that's because that's not what PCO is. Like, that's not what Frankenstein is. It's a different thing. But what PCO is this over-the-top, larger-than-life gimmick, veteran, mind you, who can, like, do crazy shit you don't expect him to do. And he's just a legend, dude. And it's like this undead, over-the-top, larger-than-life character that, like, bro, they had a zombie in ECW. It didn't work. PCO's, like, the French-Canadian Frankenstein. He makes it work however... I don't know. He just makes it work with these hardcore matches, you know? And it's not, there's like psychology behind the crazy shit he's doing. And it's serious. There is. It's not just like light tubes and bleeding, doing a blade just for the sake. It's not that. I don't even know if either dude bled during the show. But yeah, man, this match was fucking crazy. So there was a guy, something Bishop, I want to say his name was. I'm so sorry, I forget his name. They probably have it written here. Bishop, yeah, picks up. He's this huge jack dude, right? He's just fucking ginormous, this guy. And I guess his dream, he's a wrestler. His dream was always to be a TNA wrestler. And like, he does like a razor's edge onto fucking two chairs that are set up like with their backs facing each other, and PCO lands on it. Like right on his back, like it would just look brutal. Swan's getting involved. Sammy Callahan comes out with a bat. Rhino comes out. The crowd erupts. You know, he's coming to fucking gore people for getting involved because Francis has got like 10 gooners, and they just set the finish up well. Where you thought for sure you're like, oh, Francis is retaining, and then no, dude, PCO hits his shit. He does his moonsault. He does the PCO salt or whatever, gets the win. Francis, so again, you know, this was like the crowd go home, like all, if you guys notice, like all the baby faces or hometown heroes are winning, and it's sort of like, okay, but this one was really great. And Francis, you know, he does all that shit talking, and they do all this building and building and building so that he puts a vet over like PCO. It doesn't hurt Francis any. It puts more stock in like PCO as a legend of TNA, who's been there grinding with them for years, helping make this shit hot again. And I don't care what you guys say, PCO's helping making this shit hot again. And Francis is too, absolutely. Everything he touches has been great in TNA. And this is how you do wrestling. Like, I just can't, you know, I couldn't put this over more, you know, honestly. This is how you do wrestling right here. And this is how you do false finishes, where it's not like a million, pile driver, false finish, destroyer, false finish, it was just like hardcore spot, kick out, this fucking, you know what I mean? Like it was paced well, it was good. It was two guys who worked in the WWE before, you could tell, you know what I mean? So awesome match, I loved it. So moving along here, oh yeah, so Steph DeLander comes out, who I fucking love, you guys know that. SDL comes out dressed like Wednesday Addams, and the storyline is she's like dating. She like thought PCO was revolting. Now she likes him, whatever. And she gets down on one knee and goes, "Will you marry me, PCO?" And he goes, "We." And then everyone, we. So it was awesome, man. I love that. Phenomenal. I liked it so much. And then we get a video package, hyping, and the packages were great. Now, they were good. Were they the best out? Nah, I've seen better. You know, I told you guys I'm going to be critical of this, because I told everybody, if you want a starting point, Slammiversary is where you do that. You know, but we got the TNA World Knockouts Championship match. Jordynne Grace defends against Ash by Elegance, which this match worked for me. It had good like heat with me, as far as, you know, Ash was in WWE, and she was actually more specifically in NXT before she got released, came to TNA, new gimmick, and then she fucking wins a title in like Australia. Clearly gets better in ring if you watch this match, although this was not Jordan. This was, again, man, I sound so negative. I'm trying to put this over. I had a great time watching the show. I really did. Jordynne Grace, though, was like working her ass off in this match. You know, I'm not shitting on Ash, but this wasn't like Jordynne Grace's best match in the catalog, but it fit this show, because if it was this crazy match that Jordan's usually, like Jordan and Steph DeLander slapped, if it was a match that was that level, like Jordan Roxanne, you know, it might not, the rest of the card might have not stood out the way it should have, but ultimately Jordynne Grace retains, as it should be. And again, Ash was doing just good stuff. Like, it was good, great psychology. It was just a little, there were spots where you were like, oh, okay, it was a little, like a lot of leg slaps. Like, Ash was really bad with those fucking leg slaps, like really fucking egregious with them. So I don't know, but was what it was. And then the Juggernaut driver. So like the story of the match, so I got to put this over because the psychology was good. What do you mean by that, Phil? Okay, so it was like Juggernaut setting up these big moves, big move, and then fucking Ash is reversing it. She has her scouted. She rolls it up. She hits it says in here a DDT. You know, she reverses into this, a roll up. She gets out of this, does a fucking toe hold, does this, does another roll up, escapes the ring, you know, flips out of this, has a counter to that. So it was really showing off like her wrestling ability, because it has come a long way, but it's still not, you know, it was a little, there was a couple spots, but that's very nitpicky again. But yeah, shout out Jordynne Grace, doing great shit, and her and Natty, that's what's got to be down the line. You have to do that match. They've both talked so much shit on X. Natty, you know, they'd let her go to TNA for a little run, like just fucking, you know, go put Jordan over. Let's see it. Either way, we go to a video package hyping up the X Division match, and then Mike Bailey comes out. This is the big hometown guy right here, was Mike Bailey. Everybody paid their fucking ticket to see Mike Bailey. A phenomenal talent. I've had people on the show who are like, nah, I don't like him, not for me. I fucking love Speedball. His wife, Veda Scott, I believe, sorry if I got that wrong, I'm so sorry, was in the crowd as well. And I might be conflating to former knockouts. I apologize, but I believe that's his wife's name. And she was in the crowd front row. They had that emotion that, he's from Montreal. And you have Mustafa Ali, who's with Champagne Singh, now Campaign Singh, which is fucking brilliant. He has all these security guards with him. And this match was awesome. I thought it was awesome. This is like if you're a dude who likes flippy do and stiff shots and etc., this match is for you. I'm one of those guys who I enjoy that from time to time. I'm not a big hater. I will fucking enjoy some flippy, awesome, cool spots, but it was good psychology as well. Like Mustafa Ali's a tremendous talent, phenomenal talent. And there was a couple spots where, there's like a Spanish fly spot where like they really set it up. But again, they're looking for a moment for Slammiversary. And I do give that a pass a bit. It's like go and watch when Undertaker dives on HBK. Like it's a moment that'll live in infamy, but it's very set up-y, right? And for that Spanish fly to the outside, that was a big memorable spot for me. It was a moment, but they were very much setting it up type thing. But man, this was a great match. And Ali, we covered on the show before, he has gone on this undefeated streak and he was going to be in the New Japan tournament or whatever. And he told them, yeah, I'll be in it, but I can't lose a single match. Like I'm doing this thing where I'm on an undefeated run. And I said this earlier in the show with Francis and PCO. This is even more so this dude. Like Ali's been there. He's been in the WWE. He's been there, done that. He just had this crazy like year-long undefeated streak, multiple promotions, beating everybody. And what does he do? Now, I don't know if Mike Bailey's younger than him, but he's a guy who's like really on the up on the, I don't know, man. Like he's one of those guys, like he might not ever go to WWE. He doesn't need to, he's just he's like a Kenny Omega. Like he could truly go just make a living big time doing this. Like this guy's just getting bigger and bigger and more clout. And I feel like the best is ahead for Bailey. And I feel like in NXT or WWE, they could really just bring the best out of him. But that aside, he doesn't really need that. And if you're not familiar with him, go and check him out. But Ali comes in and he does the job, you guys. He agrees. Listen, my undefeated streak is done here. And he builds that undefeated streak, wins those belts, goes all over the world, does all this crazy shit, lets it be known, doesn't get New Japan goes, we can't book this guy, he won't lose. And we're all going, idiot. Oh, I wasn't saying that, but he goes on and that all builds up to this moment in fucking Mike Bailey's hometown where he beats Ali and he's that guy and he overcomes all the odds, right? And Trent Seven was his tag partner and he got beat down and injured. And actually Trent Seven was disguised and popped up in this match as one of Ali's security or whatever. And Ali submit with a fucking sharpshooter. Now in this match, Earl Hebner came out. And people were shitting on this because TNA announced, there's going to be big surprises, etc. And people were like, dude, it's fucking Earl Hebner. Like, that's complete trash. Now, I give AEW shit for this, and I'll give TNA shit for this too, although there has been crossover with WWE TNA. So it gets a bit of a pass, and Earl Hebner has history in TNA as well. Like, it's not like he's just randomly a WWE ref who comes into TNA, right? So it does make sense. But just playing into the Montreal screw job thing, it was kind of like, what the fuck? But basically, Ali brings Hebner out there to do the screw job in the sharpshooter. And then the story's like, Hebner redeems himself because he's like, nah, I can't do it to this kid. And then fucking Bailey taps Ali out legit. Like Ali actually taps. And after the ref gets bumped, like it's a big fucking ordeal. And he dives to the outside and fucking refs getting pulled out of the ring and Hebner's in there now. A whole bunch of shit went down, but it was a great match. I really enjoyed it. I was sports entertained thoroughly. on the edge of my seat. I thought I was like, Ali's going to beat him in his hometown. But again, no, the hometown guy wins. So I feel like this took the crowd out of it a bit. Like every hometown guy's just winning. Like every obvious babyface is winning. I feel like there's a bit of that. At least for me, I was like, damn, really? It's all very, like, you can pretty much guess who's going to win everything going on from here. But the last match, a lot of people figured, you know, Joe Hendry must be winning. So it's the TNA World Championship elimination match. We had Moose versus Nick Nemeth versus Steve Maclin versus Josh Alexander versus Joe Hendry versus Frankie Kazarian. Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. Joe, are you here? Ah, drats, he didn't show up. Damn it. I'm going to do that every show until he does, man. We're going to sow these seeds, and Joe hopefully will be here one day. I've said his name enough, right? I think that's how the deal works. But, so everyone makes their entrances. Moose comes out with, I believe, like the Canadian national anthem theme playing from, I might have heard wrong. And then he comes out draped in all American. So the System's whole thing was like, we're wearing American gear this whole time. And so the bell rings. Everyone rushes Moose. It says right there. Everyone's fighting him. You know, Kaz gets thrown under the bus. It's chaos. This match was really like, we're going to put our 6 sort of top dudes in this match. Wasn't the great. These matches are sort of hard to do. It was a lot of just like spots for people to be like, yeah, Joe Hendry, awesome, you know. But there were some twists and turns. So, you know, Moose. Well, where do we start? Yeah, so first off, Maclin's a babyface. I don't think that works really with people because he was such a nasty fucking heel that now that he's a face, it kind of doesn't work. Nick Nemeth is doing great work, and he's just selling for all these guys and making everyone look great, as he's fucking awesome. One of the best, you know. Moose is in there. He gets shit. My boy Marty McFly, I don't like it. I like Moose, dude. His work is great. His promos or whatever. His work's awesome as far as, I don't know. There was this sequence with like everyone getting hit with cutters. It was like springboard cutter. Then Moose comes in and does like a top rope shit, and then he gets cuttered. It was awesome. Josh Alexander's great. Everyone in this match is great, right? We'll give them all a fucking, this is great.
This is great.
Tony Khan Wet Dream. Oh yeah, I was actually I don't like these guys because it would be Hologram and Commander and yeah, some CMLL guys in my dream match, Aquarian Jr. What happens is like Alexander does a fucking heel turn. So he's like the face, the heart, and the soul of TNA. But now I love this storyline because this is like Alexander's a dude who doesn't need a fucking title. Do you know what I mean? And what happens is people are getting eliminated. I think Maclin gets eliminated by a Moose spear early. Kazarian gets taken out somewhere. But you have basically you have Alexander like it's him and Hendry like knocking all the heels out of the ring type shit, and then they square off, and then Hendry starts getting one up on Alexander, and then Alexander just kicks him right in the balls, and then fucking starts going off on him. Also, Hendry, before this though, I think, and then what happens is Alexander pins out Hendry. Tremendous heat on him, booked so much juicy heat on him, dude. And it was great because now we're going to get heel run Alexander. And if you think about it, you have heel Ethan Page in NXT. Hello.
You fucking mark!
We could get the North as heels in NXT. It's all I'm saying. / in TNA. We don't know. All I'm saying. And, damn, is that cool? Not saying like even just a reunion one-off, you know. I'm not sitting there to say, oh, I want them to just be a team, but that would be cool. Alexander, though, I did not see this coming out of nowhere. He's so beloved. He's had his kids in there in the ring, his wife crying, all this. They did a great robbery where he got the belt robbed by him from Moose and everything. So years of him being just like the face of TNA, the heart and the soul, and he's beating up Hendry, beating him down, going, I'm the heart and the soul. Who are you? You know? And I fucking awesome, man. The crowd got so much heat. But before that, Hendry hit fucking Moose with the mic stand or whatever and pinned him clean, dude. Okay. So Moose got eliminated. Like there were like 3 or 4 other dudes left. So it was a guaranteed new world champion, and Hendry just pinned him clean with his finish. So, I mean, that's all I'm saying, dude. So you have that match down the line. That's big for fucking Hendry. You got Moose wanting to get back at Nick Nemeth, who comes and wins. So, and they put him over as like he's a guy who helped carry us over, you know, and he did lose his first world title shot, but you have Nick Nemeth as your world champ. I mean, can't go wrong there, dude. It was an awesome match. I can't remember how the finish was here. They probably got it written down here, but Nemeth works on Alexander, headbutts him. Nemeth then super kicks Kaz, covers him. Kaz kicks out. Nemeth super kicks Kaz, nails him with the danger zone, and covers Kaz to get the win. Yeah, so it was him and Kaz. So that would have been crazy too, because Kazarian, his whole story is like, no, I'm coming back and do it. Like I'm doing TNA right, and fuck that old guard, and I'm the old guard now, and I'm coming to win this title, and I'm the vet who, whatever. And he's been featured high profile, but it came down to him and Nemeth, which was booked properly. You know, Alexander, he had his crazy longest reigning TNA chain. He doesn't need all that. So Nick Nemeth wins, man, and you're gonna put the belt on someone. I mean, what a guy to put it on. You know. And if like all these people who, they didn't book Dolph Ziggler right, well, you better be watching TNA then, because they're like he's on top right now, and it's amazing. And so yeah, everybody comes into the ring, they celebrate with Nemeth, a big like Cody Rhodes style, all the baby faces sort of fucking send off type thing, hoisting him up, and they finally got rid of the system, and the system's been depleted other than Masha and Alicia, but I could see them feuding and losing those belts. And, this show to me was very fun. I was very sports entertained. It wasn't the greatest TNA pay-per-view or event of all time, but it had a lot of feel-good moments. The main event was awesome. It was chaos. A lot of the matches were just great. The PCO, AJ Francis stuff was awesome. The right people won, but it felt overloaded, like really all on one card, like that's wow. And if Joe Hendry didn't win, I kind of figured he wouldn't win it because he doesn't need it, guys. You got to remember that some people don't need the fucking belts, sometimes the people are bigger than the fucking belt, and Joe Hendry's that dude, and also like Nick Nemeth is going to stick around TNA. He's not going to go cross back over with NXT. Why the fuck would he do that? He just left WWE. So he's like whereas he's in TNA, whereas Hendry, they're going to let him go play at NXT, and it could be him versus Ethan Page for the fucking NXT title sooner than later, which would be insane. But yeah, the system was depleted as well. So I'm okay with them just like breaking up. I'm over the system. I haven't really cared about it. Other than, Masha and Alicia Edwards, who, the Militia, as they call themselves, which is a great name. Let's be real. It's not as good as MK Ultra, but it is a great name. But, they retain their belts. The TNA Knockouts division is looking brighter than ever. And so is the Knockouts tag division. But speaking of MK Ultra and possibly Militia breaking up, joining me now on the show, the sizzle to the steak daddy, who knows? But not just that, though. Joining me now on the show is a talent who I'm just such a big fan of. I've put over tremendously. MK Ultra won the PWT 2023 other tag team of the year. You guys voted. Speaking of, Masha Slamovich and Alicia Edwards and Knockouts who may be returning, and a lot of people thought Killer Kelly was returning at Slammiversary, and that's not the case, and she'll talk a little bit about that in this interview. Joining me on the show, ladies and gentlemen, former WWE superstar and current TNA knockout, or is she, Killer Kelly? Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now on the show, one of my favorite women wrestlers, one of the listeners' favorite wrestlers. She is a former WWE NXT superstar, current TNA knockout, or is she? We'll find out. The one and only Killer Kelly is here.
Hey.
So, how are you, Kelly?
I'm good. I'm doing well. Currently in the heat of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Barely surviving.
Yeah, I mean, I'm up in Canada. We usually keep it cold, but it's staying hot up here as well. But right off the bat, I try to ask a fun question. And I know you're a horror movie fan, as am I. My girlfriend loves scaring the shit out of me with horror movies whenever she can. What's your favorite scary movie of all time if you had to choose one?
Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors, as you can see from my water cup.
Hey, I like that.
I
Yeah, I
love Freddy.
got one with like a Chucky head in it somewhere. I can't find it.
Mm.
But that's amazing. And so speaking of horror movies, obviously I ask, you are currently working on or have wrapped a short horror film, Arachnid.
Yes, I have.
So tell me about your involvement in that and like how that experience was, compared to especially wrestling, the wrestling grind,
Yeah. So it actually, being on wrestling and like TV tapings and all of that, it was kind of similar like as to shooting a promo, but it's longer days of just filming and shooting and reshooting. But I love the experience. I love working with Luke, who I know from TNA, and he's the director. And just the whole experience was amazing, and I really want to do it again. I feel like I have that I fit well within the horror movie industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the scenes that we did, all of the scenes that hopefully soon everyone will see, they're fucking badass and
Yes.
they're so cool, and I can't wait for the world to see it.
I'm excited for it. And when does that, do you have like a timeline on when that comes out, or is it just like is it just currently being edited, etc.?
Yeah, it's currently being edited, and there's no set date. And I don't want to, like, Luke has told me some dates, but he's not sure himself, so I'm not gonna just tell everyone that it's gonna happen in August when it might take a little bit while. And since it's an independent movie, it's not like backed up by big production and all of that. Like, you never know.
Right. And so what was your involvement in that as far as like, are you the lead in it? Can you talk about it at all? Are you, can you shed some light on that?
As my name pertains, I truly am the killer in the movie.
Let's go. I'm excited. Yeah. That's incredible. You're a big time fan favorite of this show, particularly. I spent so much time gushing on this podcast over yourself and the brilliant run with Masha, Slamovich as the knockout champions, of course, rivals first. The listeners voted MK Ultra one of our tag teams of the year last year.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that. Like, you two, just the storytelling behind it all was so brilliant. And, it really helped. I feel like, TNA really picked up a lot of steam. I feel like this story and you and Masha were a big part of that. And you two started out as foes, brawling in vignettes and backstage. And then you're fighting in matches. And then you became like frenemy pseudo lovers. And then, of course, champions and everything. It was just phenomenal. So I'm curious, like, did TNA come to you guys with this long story arc already laid out? Or were you guys kind of making it up week to week? Or were you pitching it? Like, how did that all come together and sort of play out?
So I've been signed to TNA for a long time before I actually had my debut. And I remember seeing Masha have her debut and her whole like kind of like psycho character and all of that. And since the day that I saw her debut on television, I was like, oh my God, we're like kind of similar. And it like, until I had my official debut, I've always thought like, oh my God, we would be paired up like really well and all that. But I never said anything to anyone on TNA, and neither to her. But I was always thinking, like, back of my mind, okay, let me just do my own thing in the beginning. But then I was like, okay, I feel like we're being put like far away from each other in this beginning. Because there's like some reasoning behind it. I think they might want us to do something together. And when they didn't even come with the idea per se, they just said, hey, you and Masha are going to have a match together. And we're like, sick. let's do it. Let's kill it, knock it out of the park. And I feel like they saw a really good chemistry, and they started to roll the ball with the idea of us maybe teaming together. They never actually told us, "Hey, you're gonna team together. You're gonna team." We just had that idea, like, oh, it seems like they're gonna go this route. So we started like plotting and talking about it and whatnot. And then we just teamed one day, and I was like, yep, I think they want to do something with us. And we just clicked as a team. And every single time after the first time that we teamed, it was just like us brainstorming with the writers and all of that. So basically everything that you saw on television, it was basically me and Masha just just rolling with it, and literally going to shoot a backstage promo, and we would be like, this is what we're gonna do. Like, let's just roll with it. Like, turn on the camera and we're gonna do something. And it always worked, and it was fantastic.
Absolute magic, and just to bring it back to something you said a little bit ago. So TNA had you signed a long time before you debuted. Might I ask, why was that? Like, was it like a recruitment type thing, or did you have other commitments you had to finish up or something?
COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
the part we all like to try and forget, right?
yeah. I was stuck in Portugal. Like, they offered me, so I did the tag team tournament. And the next day, so it was 2 days of tapings. The next day they offered me a contract. And I was like, hell yeah, let's freaking do it. And I even signed the contract when I was still in the US. Then I went back to Portugal. I thought, oh, is this going to be a couple of months, gather my stuff, take care of like the visa situation, blah, blah, blah. No, it just took a long time. And yeah, like I was trapped in Portugal for like 9 months. And then I found like a little loophole of how to get into the States, but I still couldn't work because I was in a process of getting the visa. So I literally, I arrived in the US. I took like 2 or 3 indie bookings. Not 2 or 3, I think like a handful of indie bookings. And then they were like, it is not a good idea you working. Just please stop working until we have everything situated. I was like, okay, yeah, makes sense. So then it was another high, I stopped working for a little bit. And then finally, after like half a year or more than half a year in the States, it wasn't half a year, it was almost a year. I finally was able to work. Like, it was ridiculous, like all the waiting.
Yeah. And you, so was becoming a TNA knockout, was that like a bucket list thing for you in your career prior?
Definitely. Like, I was very fortunate to reach one of my main goals in such an early stage of my career, which was to get to WWE. Excuse me. And it's drinking coffee. Like,
I'm on the same boat over here.
Yeah. So I reached one of my bucket list goals. I was like the first Portuguese signee to WWE. Like, it was crazy. And then I was like, okay, I do have other goals. I want to go to Japan. Definitely, I want to wrestle for Impact, TNA now. And once I did those tapings, I was like, goddamn, I really want to be a knockout. Like, I literally grew up watching WWE, and then once I was like 13 or 14, I found TNA, and I fell in love with TNA. Like, I was obsessed with it.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I was obsessed with the beautiful people. Like, I was like, oh my god, they're amazing. I was obsessed with Gail. I remember seeing Gail was one of the first people that I saw that I was like, oh, she's from WWE. Oh, she's here now. Oh, she's amazing. Like, I don't know why they like, this girl wasn't in WWE. Like, she is fucking great. Yeah, and I was obsessed with Taylor Wilde. I even, like, I've told her a million times that I was obsessed with her. My first like official gear was inspired in Taylor Wilde. So I've always had like that connection with the TNA Knockouts. So once I became one, it was surreal.
So now to bring, I guess, contract talks or whatever to the present time, So like there's rumors about your status with TNA as of late, and we touched on it. You're filming a flick, you know what I mean? But TNA specifically, there's rumors about like, you know, you're filming a horror movie. We touched on that. People are saying you're eyeing up NXT or WWE again. People are saying you're just taking a break, all of these different things. But can you shed some light? Yes or no, Killer Kelly? You are still, in fact, a TNA knockout currently, correct?
Yes, I'm a
There you
TNA
go, guys.
knockout. Come on now, look at this.
Let's go.
I'm a TNA knockout. Like, I don't know, like I know why the rumor started. I definitely know why. Because it was a miscommunication between I'm not gonna get deep into it. Like all the dirt sheets already got into it. I was just really ridiculous, like ridiculous how that got that far away, to the point that I was like, "Did you guys fire me?" And they're like, "No, what the hell?"
Oh my god, really? It got that bad where you had to ask?
Yeah, I had to ask because I was out of the roster page because someone within TNA thought that I wasn't with TNA anymore because of the dirt sheet. So they just decided to take me off the website. And I was like, the higher ups didn't even know that happened. I went to the higher ups. I was like, hey guys, so this is happening. They were like, what the fuck is happening?
Oh my goodness.
They made a call. Everything got settled. I was just like, okay.
See, that's why I don't try and report news. I say it. I'm the clown in the corner making jokes. You know what I mean? I don't try and do that because it's such I don't want to affect anyone's career with like my bad reporting on shit. You know, I just don't go. I just don't do it that way. But I mean, shout out those who do. But damn, I didn't realize it got that serious, and it must have been tricky. So speaking of like the higher ups, you know, you were there when Scott D'Amore was there, and of course now, and then he went along. So how was that transitional phase sort of for you? Were you in the mix of it? Was there chaos backstage, or was it rather smooth and seamless? Or can you shed any light on that at all?
I mean, it was smooth and seamless because like us, the wrestlers, we don't get to see what happens in those meetings and all of that. We basically just, you know, independent contractors that go there, have their matches, write their stories, pitch every now and then, but those conversations were not a part of it. So it was just weird not seeing Scott on the next set of tapings.
Right.
Because I'm very thankful for Scott for everything that he's done in my career. Like, I love Scott. He's great. Like, he makes me laugh. He was a really great boss. But it was just weird not seeing him. That was it. And then, we have new bosses. Okay. They're cool people too. But that was it. Yeah, it's just sad not seeing him backstage.
And so like creatively and stuff, what changed there? Like nothing? Or like I'm sure Scott was back there helping give direction and stuff. So like who, if anybody, I guess, stepped up in that role, or like what was the change that you noticed there, if there was any?
I didn't notice any changes, to be perfectly honest. I know that he had the final saying and everything, but we stay with the same people that were writing the stories and directing stuff around. He was just like the final boss. He was the one who said yes or no.
Shout out The Rock, by the way. No gimmick infringement there on that one.
To me, my final boss is Meiko Satomura. So,
well, I wanted to ask you about that. So I'm so glad you brought it up. It's like you read my mind. So, you know, you spent some years in NXT UK, correct? Like how many years were you there? It was like 3, I want to say, or 2?
Almost 3. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about the Mae Young Classic. They chose you, like, right, to wrestle Meiko Satomura in the first round. She's an absolute legend. Yeah. What was that like?
It was literally. I remember we were flying, me and the other NXT UK girls, me, Ginny, Tony, and Isla. We were flying from a set of tapings, and we went straight to the US. We went to the PC, and I remember we were like, oh, we're going to take a bunch of classes and blah, 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 up like before the Mae Young. And Sarah Del Rey, which is one of the coaches, she was like, hey, girls, now that you're here, let me just tell you your matches. So you go with blah, blah, blah. You go blah, blah, blah. Killer Kelly, you're going to go with Meiko Satomura. I went like blank face. I was like, oh, what? and Sarah was like, "Aren't you happy with your match?" I was like, "I'm shocked. I am shocked. I love it. What an opportunity! What a like that is a career defining moment." Like I was shitting my pants when she told me that. I was like, "Oh, you're gonna put me with Meiko Satomura? Okay, that's amazing." And then I was like, "Oh, obviously they want like Meiko Satomura to have like a quick and easy match, blah blah blah." And then I found out how long they wanted.
Yeah,
That
you
it was
guys
gonna
went
be
at it.
it was gonna be the main event of the episode. I was just like, "Oh my fucking god." We called that match like in literally in less than an hour. We had Funaki helping us, and we were just like bouncing each other's ideas off, and we're like, "Oh my god, she is perfect. She's amazing. I love her." I was literally like telling Meiko, "Oh Meiko, then you do the cartwheel knee thingy," and she was like, "Oh, you know that? You know?
Yeah.
Thank you so much." I was like, "Meiko, of course I know. I love
Yeah.
you."
That's amazing.
Of course I know all of your moves. And just the match itself, like it was so fucking special. Like just to like I looked amazing in that match.
You did.
Like
You do. Yeah.
like I was just expecting looking like nothing.
Yeah.
She helped make Killer Kelly.
Yeah.
She really helped with everything going forward. And I remember we finished the match, both of us. It's not like I knew I was gonna cry because I was emotional, but Meiko was crying.
Wow.
Meiko was crying. She hugged me. We hugged. We were backstage crying. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, William Regal all came to us. They were like, "Thank you so much, ladies. This was amazing. We loved it. It was an amazing match. Thank you so much." And I started crying even more. We're just like a wreck backstage, both of us crying, just thanking each other. Like it was like it's literally my favorite match ever because of all those reasons. Like it's WWE, it's Meiko Satomura.
Right.
It's my idols saying that I did a fucking great job.
Yeah.
Is the fans going bananas for it at Full Sail. Like it was great.
It was, and it really put you on the map, like with myself for sure. I'm like, okay, we're watching her from now on. So it was just spectacular, and it's awesome that it resonates with you like that because I feel like when I think about even her time in WWE, that's the match. I just think of that tournament in general, and it was really cool. Speaking of like Shawn Michaels and Triple H and TNA, and there's all these crossovers happening. We've seen the Rascals pop. It's amazing. We see, of course, the door was sort of kicked down. Well, I mean, you could bring it back and say Mickie James sort of did it first in the Rumble there, and then we see Jordan Grace, and then we see the Rascals come over. We see Joe Hendry, who's over like Rover. Is that
Amazing.
something you again? You've been there. You've been in the WWE system, as they like to call it.
Yeah.
What do you foresee that possibly in your future? Like, hey, I'll cross over, or is that something you're at all interested in, or is your focus like I'm going to come back to TNA when I do and just do the best I can there?
Well, absolutely, I want to cross over. Absolutely, like I've been teasing it with my friend Tatum.
Yep.
Absolutely, because it's such a it's such a cool thing that is happening nowadays. It's history. It's something that they're gonna talk about like years to come. Like, oh, and then TNA crossover with WWE, and they're exchanging talents and blah blah blah. Like that's fucking cool. Of course, I want to be part of it.
Yep.
Of course, my main focus will always be TNA, but just going back to NXT, which was the first place that Killer Kelly was, it's poetry. It's really cool. Like whenever I'm clear to wrestle again, like I want to be part of it.
So and you don't have to divulge any, but any timeline on you when you think maybe you'll be back, or you don't even have to tell me if you don't want, but just
like I haven't been very vocal about it because I literally do not have a timeline right now.
Yeah.
Like it sucks, but I don't, but whenever I'm ready, I'll show up.
Yeah. No, well, we know.
Because
And
I'm itching to come back with this whole thing going on. I'm just like, God damn it.
yeah, no doubt. And you know, and also like we're talking about what's going on in TNA. Well, you know, we brought up Masha earlier, and
Yeah.
she's doing her thing with Militia is the team name, but it's no MK Ultra in my book. Hey, I'm not.
Nah.
It's no MK Ultra. I'm just saying. So
Nah.
is your aspirations when you get back to work, like is it like, hey, I want to team up with Masha again, or maybe a feud with her, or you just whatever they got from her? Like, are you looking forward to teaming with Masha again? Because if you think about it, with the crossovers, I mean, WWE also has those women's tag titles over there, and there's not
I
a lot of
know.
real teams, not as many as well oiled as MK Ultra is. So, what are your aspirations there? And yeah, I don't know, you and Masha possibly in the future again.
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. Like it wasn't it wasn't my decision, the whole MK Ultra thing to end. It wasn't at all. So I don't know what was going on with that. But you never know. I feel like it would be a good opportunity with me coming back and with the whole WWE thing going on, and me already being familiar with both Isla and Alba. I feel like it would be a nice thing to do. It would
I
be
love
really
that.
really nice. Put a couple of almost serial killers with some witches.
Yep, I love it.
It would be a good mix. It would be a really good mix.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. So we talked a little bit about Meiko Satomura. Is so would you say she's like your all-time favorite if you had to pick one? Like, we're not trying to lower one to raise another here, nothing like
Yeah.
that. But if you had to pick one male or female all-timer, who's Killer Kelly's all-timer? Or you can
God
give me a
damn it.
couple. You can give me a couple if you need.
Oh my god. So my all-timer like is Shibata.
Ooh, let's go.
Yeah, he's my all-timer, and but there's a lot of wrestlers in from that, you know, were part of my journey as I was growing up. So I have a lot. Like I was early obsessed with John Cena.
Who was it?
Yeah, I love John Cena, and I love Kurt Angle, and I loved Gail Kim. I love the beautiful people. Like it's all like such a diversity of wrestlers. None of them match each other. None of them. And I'm also obsessed with Minoru Suzuki once I became a wrestler.
Yeah.
And so there's like a lot of people that I take inspiration of. Like Meiko is definitely like the top dog.
Up there, yeah.
I love her for everything that she's done for me.
Yeah.
As a wrestler, and even not knowing me and betting on me and taking me to Japan. Like she made a lot of my dreams come true.
Wow.
And she's the greatest.
A gem, yeah.
She is.
And so like, who would be your dream match opponent? Any promotion, any wrestler that's active right now? The forbidden door or the prohibited portals have been opened wide in the wrestling biz. Who's active right now? Anyone, you, them, one-on-one. Who's your dream match right now?
God damn. I haven't had like a dream match for a while now. I just see people that it would be like a nice mix to have like in the ring. Like for sure I would love to wrestle Suzuki for sure. Like that would be like a dream come true. But then there's other things like me and Tony, we wrestle a lot of times in Germany with WXW, and it was the old Tony and it was the old Killer Kelly.
Tony Storm, sorry.
Yeah, Tony Storm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I've known her for years, and now with this new character, I just feel like, maybe it would be so cool having Killer Kelly versus Tony, the new timeless Tony Storm. It would be such a cool like experience and cool mix. But then I also think of the wrestling. So that would be more like character, and it would be so much fun. And I feel like I'm hitting my age the age where I want to have a lot of fun in wrestling, and that would be like amazing. But then like to push myself to the limit, I would be like, maybe I would love to wrestle Io Sky. That would be fucking crazy. Like, she would beat the living shit out of me. I would love it. And I would test my limits. I mean, I don't know, round 2 with Meiko as well.
Yes.
I don't know. There's so many things. Like, I need to see like what's the that would benefit me long term. That all of those matches would benefit me long term. Like, they would be amazing to have.
I got one more question for you here. So you talked about Io beating the shit out of you. Stiffest person you ever worked, who beat the shit out of you the worst?
Oh my god, I even tell the story nowadays. Dash Shizako. Dash. She was so hard. Like, it was so it was me and Sheeta versus Dash and oh my god, I forgot her name. God damn it. I'm gonna hate myself for not remembering her name. Anyway, it was at Korakuen Hall. And I got, what was it? Upper hand or something like that knocked me out on my feet. I don't know how I continued the match. And then she gave me the worst double foot stomp of my life. That I was just like,
oh my goodness.
And I may or may not have peed on myself in the middle of Korakuen Hall. May or may not. That was hard. I was like, I'm so glad that the match is over because this is so embarrassing.
Did Killer Kelly pee herself in Korakuen Hall? We'll leave that one for the dirt sheets to uncover if it happened or not. But Kelly, I thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate you. Why don't you let the good folks, the good PWT listeners know like what you have going on, your social medias, anything you need to plug, anything you feel that people should know about. The floor is yours.
The floor is mine. Okay, guys, you already know all the social media. We have x.com/Kelly_WP, Instagram.com, Kelly Wrestling. And I have my own fan site, which is brandarmy.com/Killer Kelly, where I post like fun photo shoots that I do. I mostly post about my cat.
Okay.
And just random things that are happening. Like, there's a lot of behind the scenes of the movie that I just shot. So there's that. So yeah, people, subscribe.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. Killer Kelly did the damn thing, and I'm frozen over here, Kelly. So if you leave me, it's okay. I appreciate you so much.
I can still hear you, so it's
good. That's good. But bye for now, and thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Toodles, guys. Wow, let's go, Killer Kelly. Let's go. Another round of applause for Killer Kelly. What a tremendous interview. What an awesome time that was to have her on the show so close to Slammiversary. Man, just tremendous. And we'll have her back one day, I'm sure. But in the meanwhile, make sure you stay locked in to TNA Wrestling, most importantly. And make sure you stay locked into PWT Podcast because it only goes up from here, folks. And thank you so much for tuning in. At Pro Wrestle Times on YouTube. So youtube.com/at Pro Wrestle Times. At Pro Wrestle Clips on YouTube. That's youtube.com/at Pro Wrestle Clips. You guys already know where to find me. I'm at Pro Wrestle Times everywhere on social media. I want to thank Killer Kelly again for being here. And guys, make sure you're watching TNA. Thanks for tuning in here. I don't got much more to show you guys. I'm happy to be back. If you can't tell, I'm more lax. I'm having fun. I'm laughing. It's just I'm very, very reinvigorated, and I'm very excited for what's to come in the future of PWT. We only scratched the surface, my guys. Okay. And let me shout out the Tribal Chiefs, Tyranitar, J&D, Lincoln Hawk, Tom Reed, Donnie Soros, You Ain't Hype, Brody Campbell, Brad Becker, Jay Chase, Liam McBlain, Andre Adams, the Big KC, James Gonzalez, Savage Wrestling Podcast, LK, George Capture, Bocce Ball Pro, Scully Vibes, Gilgamesh, Jamie, Eat Your Heart, Cruise Madrid, Derek H, Excalibur, Eat Your Heart Out. I have been your host, Phil Marks. Thanks for joining me. And yeah, make sure you tap into the live shows, man. Wednesdays and Saturday nights or wherever there's a PLE. And yeah, it's good to be back, man. I'll see you guys in the Upside Down. Peace.